Hello! Today I'm on a sartorial journey with founder and CEO of Trinny London, Trinny Woodall. Trinny burst onto the scene on our TV screens with What Not to Wear with Susanna Constantine a couple of decades ago and taught the nation how to dress. And I am fascinated to understand what's behind you, the person, and your sartorial secrets and what makes you tick. I am in awe of the person you are, the energy you have, and most importantly, the way you're fascinated by how women want to feel. So let's start with your sartorial journey. When did it begin? When did you first realize the impact of clothes?
I think if you're somebody who's been in a school uniform, age 6.5, you have a sense of what that one life is. Anyone who's been in a uniform, it's like when you get out of the uniform, who do you want to be? And I first experienced that at boarding school at 6.5, and I stayed at the weekends quite a lot at the school, and a lot of girls went home. So there was myself and some random girls from all around the world who stayed, and some of us were more sophisticated than others, but there was one particular girl. And later in life, this happened. No, I'm going to go back. I think at that age, I had been dressed by my mother, and my sister and I were dressed the same. But when I look back at photographs, my brother, sister, and I were dressed the same.
Ooh.
So you have these pictures of us all in a red velvet coat or in a blue velvet coat, but it would be identical. And I mean, the pain I feel for my brother is more in this, that, probably until about 6, until he went off to school, he did have to be subjected to the same tones and hues as us. So my mother quite liked, she grew up, it was the 60s in England, and it was that matchy era when you came from quite a conservative background. So that's what happened. And I have vague little memories of my first breakout outfit, but they weren't till I was about 8 or 9. And before then, I just remember being at boarding school, clothes, being the third child, you didn't always get the new outfits. You got the kind of hand-me-downs a little bit. But then as I got a little bit older and I changed school, I then remember age 11, there was a girl in my school who lived in Italy, and Benetton opened. Maybe we were now 13, 14. Benetton opened, and in England, my mother took me for clothing to M&S, and then she took me, I just developed acne, she took me to M&S also for dealing with my acne, so it was Pond's cream or whatever she could find at the chemist, actually. And then our father, occasionally, who was far more vain than my mother, actually, and dressed beautifully, and he would occasionally take us to Paris, and we'd have this shop up, but very few and far between. I can literally remember 5 times in my life that he did it, but it was when we were sort of spoilt with these we would go and find a lovely dress.
And can you remember the very first lovely dress that made you feel just a foot taller, more feminine, more grown up?
It wasn't a dress. There was a dress or two from Laura Ashley with a leg of mutton sleeve in that sort of linen mix with a sort of toile de jouet on it. And I remember I felt very grown up. I went to somebody's bat mitzvah, and I must have been about 9, and I remember it was a weird green that doesn't suit me, and I'd never wear now, with white and a little white ruffled collar, but I felt very grown up in it. So I remember that very specifically. And then I remember this was in the 70s, and I was at school in Germany, and my parents had moved to Germany, and I went to an American school, and my mother had got me this outfit, which was a very, very wide-legged, beautiful, like a sort of teal, had a baby with turquoise, fine cord trouser, hipster, incredible flair, and then this sort of slightly Laura Ashley round-necked top. And it was so different from all the American girls at school who were in sort of, then it was very in to wear sort of, tartan skirts and things like that. But I wore this and I felt so cool wearing it. And it was a really rainy day, and I was wanting to wear it to school because it was an American school, you wear what you like. And my mother said, don't, it's going to rain, you have to go in the woods. And I was like, no, I have to wear it. So I wore it, and then we had to do this walk in the woods. And I remember walking in the woods and seeing the mud go up
creep
my
up your
trouser leg
legs.
and creep
Oh,
up my
no.
legs. And I was just in tears because I was thinking, oh my God, these lovely trousers. I remember the mark never came out. And that was kind of I remember that so vividly.
But the uniform side of things, because I think that does leave an impact on us, and there's something fantastically easy about getting up every morning and putting a uniform on.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you still have that in you? Do you still like to? Are you a bit of a uniform dresser?
I think you get to a stage where you find a uniform that works for you. And I think it's great to get to that stage because then it becomes you. And whatever style changes if you have your uniform. But I think your uniform evolves every 10 years. But most women I speak to, the colours they least want to wear are generally the colours that wear their school uniform. You know, so I'll find somebody and I'll get a beautiful purple and I'll think it looks so wonderful. She'll go, I can't bear it. And I'm like, why can't you bear it? It's amazing. And she won't say it. And then I'll say, it was your school uniform, wasn't it? And she'll go, yes.
I am so there with you.
What
Mushy
colour was
pea
yours?
green.
Oh.
Never, ever, ever again in my life.
Yeah, and I don't know if mushy pea green is your colour
But
anyway.
I love a khaki.
Oh, you do? Oh, but you mean mushy peas.
But a proper
Yeah.
khaki. But yeah, mushy peas, just horrible, washed out. In fact, there wasn't a girl in the school, and it was a very international school, so there were girls from around the world.
Yeah,
It was
I mean,
just,
I think
it was cruel.
Yeah, I think if you're a woman of colour and you have a caramel undertone, it works, a red undertone skin. But if you have a cool undertone skin, no,
It just washed
no,
them
doesn't
out.
work. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's funny, those sartorial moments that just, make us into who we are. I mean, you've talked a lot about, you've had highs, you've had lows. I wonder whether you use clothes as your armor in any way, because I often think our clothes are our armor between our naked self and the rest of the world.
I have trouble with the word armor because a lot of people use it for different things, like makeup is your armor to
It's
whatever.
quite aggressive, isn't it?
I find it really aggressive.
Yeah,
and I
it's
think
not feminine.
It's not feminine, but also it involves that you need this barrier between you and the world. And I think a part of getting confidence in how you dress and how you feel about your body and how you feel about everything, it's about having that lovely emergence. It's not about a big linear division. So I sort of say that if you can wear things that make you feel really a part of what you're doing, they bring you into the conversation. And I think a lot of women that I've dressed and done makeup on over the years, it's about how can I dress you that you have the confidence that how you're going to look more present. So therefore there's going to be maybe an obligation from people around you that you then have something to say, because a lot of people are quite shy. It would be much harder to say to them, wear bright colors and do things, but sometimes that in itself will make somebody feel that they are present and people see them, and therefore it gives them the confidence to speak and to have a voice. So it's a little circle.
Because you talk about, in many of your interviews, how shy you were, painfully shy.
Chronically shy.
And yet, Trinny, we have this awesome woman in you that will strip naked in Zara and is on Instagram virtually every day in your bathroom with a towel wrapped around you with no makeup on. And I'm in awe of, is that your way of saying, okay, I'm not this shy person. I'm using my clothes and my makeup, and I'm fascinated that you've gone from clothes to makeup.
There's a lot here around imposter syndrome, which, to me was just called when I was younger, feeling very insecure. So I had things that made me feel insecure. So I had brothers and sisters who I felt were fabulous and out there, and I felt, at the kitchen table in the evening that I didn't have a contribution to make. I felt
You're
that.
the youngest.
And I'm the youngest, and there's 6. Well, there's 2 marriages, but I felt a little bit of that. And then when I was 13, I developed very bad acne. So I felt very unattractive as a person. And I had really bad acne that when I then went on dates, and I had it till I was 30, when I went on dates, I would decide what restaurant I would go to and if there was overhead lighting or not. I was that kind of self-aware because people would also talk to my spots. So when you have skin...
But that's you thinking they would
No, they would. So when you have skin that bad that people they talk to you like this, and I'm looking at you, and then I'll have a quick flash, and you're really aware of where that eye's looking, even more so when you have bad skin. I don't know if anyone has had bad skin, but you have that feeling, and it's very strong. So then you kind of make up for it a bit. And so I was sort of always, when I was sort of 16, 17, I sort of did a bit too much of everything. And then by the time I was 24, I'd just done enough of that. But when you had met me then between sort of 18 and 25, you wouldn't have felt I was shy because I'd always had something to say. But I literally, like, I'd go to a party and I'd just hang out in the bathroom as much as possible because I didn't want to go and talk to people. I felt very, very, I've got to talk to people now. A lot. I still can occasionally feel that. But then when I then went to rehab when I was 26 because I'd just done too much of everything. And when you go to rehab, what happens is you kind of start over. So all the kind of things that you have that give you those layers of the onion, they're sort of peeled back. And I remember I came back to London, I was 26, and I went down the King's Road and I literally had a panic attack. I was didn't know who I was because everything had been taken away.
Did your style change then?
I had very, very long hair, and I would always hide behind my hair. I'd always, like, if I was uncomfortable talking to somebody, I'd have my hair right down here, and also I was still very aware of my skin. So it was a very good camouflage to sort of separate me.
Curtain.
A good curtain, exactly. And then I also, when I look back, if I look back at things that I really think, oh my God, and this is why I have such an aversion to fake tan now, is I wore a tremendous amount of fake tan because I felt, let me just try and mush the spots together. So I'd get this number 7 mousse thing and I'd put it on a sponge and I'd cover my face in it and my body. And then it got so bad. I look back at pictures and I remember one I'm wearing the only time I wore yellow then, a yellow jacket, and literally my face and the jacket all sort of merged together, and it was really bad fake tan then. It was only ever orange. And then I'll go and stay with people in the countryside, and their parents would write to my mum and say, look, can she bring her own sheets next time?
Oh no!
Because it was really so I had that going on, so that wasn't very appealing. And I did wear bright colours. I remember I still love Benetton, the story I was telling you about, this friend of mine, Sam, and she bought a matching twin set from Benetton in purple and yellow skirt, and I just love this colour. And I think
because I always think of you as a big colour
and I think even then, like, I remember being at school at Queensgate in London, 16 to 18, and I became obsessed with these shoes from, I can't remember where, it was a little shop on Brock Road, and I wanted them in purple, and then I wanted them in turquoise, and they were really expensive, and this girl in the year above had them, and she was a part-time model, and she was so elegant and suave, and I just wanted these shoes so badly. And you didn't have to wear a uniform as well, so I would dress, and I was sort of finding my style.
God, I think if I hadn't had to wear a uniform at school, I would have spent so much time working out my looks. And
I think we weren't that self-aware in that
so you weren't
era.
making over your school friends?
No, I wasn't. I was just kind of, people would from that age always end up in my wardrobe and in my bathroom, because I'd always be finding things that were really inexpensive, because I literally was earning, like, when I left school I earned £8,500 a year as my first job. So I was shopping in secondhand stores or at Miss Selfridge and getting buttons from the Button Queen in Marylebone Lane and making the things look expensive.
And so you were customizing.
I was customizing, and then in the bathroom I was putting concoctions together, and I was already mixing makeup and skincare then, and somebody would come in, present, say, I've got this problem, and I'll go, you should use this and this and this, because I was obsessed, and I had started from 16 because my mum gave me the Pond's cold cream, and I knew that wasn't going to work.
It wasn't
so
working.
I started from that age in thinking what will help. I had a year of just doing witch hazel, and then I had a year of this and a year of that, and then I grew up, and I was still living at home, so I spent half my salary on things for my skin. I remember that.
Amazing.
Yeah, I was so wanting to get my skin sorted.
And do you think that's the inspiration behind going into skincare? And obviously you've got this beautiful makeup range, but then that's progressed into skincare.
I think skincare and makeup, when I then spent 20 years making over women, and I did it in England with What Not to Wear, but then I left England when What Not to Wear, and we were no longer flavour of the month.
And you went off to America.
We did 12 countries. So
yes.
I did America, Israel, Australia, Poland, Germany, Denmark, Sweden,
Phenomenal.
Tons of places. But what I found in that whole experience is I found out that whatever age you were, and whatever country you were from, and whatever your religion was, and whatever your skin tone was, that how you felt inside at various decades in women's lives was very similar. when do we kind of feel insecure? What channels that insecurity? What makes us feel more insecure? How do we get comfortable with our bodies? Who's uncomfortable with their body? And all. So I probably had 5,000 women I made over in 20 years. So that research, and what I noticed when we did makeovers,
that's a library.
It's a library. It's like when you in clothing. I'm sure you've had the same research, but when I then was looking at, and I knew I wanted to do my own company, and Susanna and I got to a stage where we realized we'd had enough of working with each other. We're still actually very good friends, but we just wanted to pursue different things. And I knew that whenever we did a makeover, what women noticed the first was makeup. And I had also noticed all the different makeup artists we had around the world, and all the different makeup teams meant that lots of people and young makeup artists, they would just do the look of the season on everyone, whatever their age was. It doesn't work. And I just kind of would always go into the makeup room afterwards and say, look, less red, thicker brows, what's that base on her? You don't understand her skin tone and the undercurrents, the undertones of her skin tone. So I kind of thought, I think as much as I think skincare, makeup, which one, I thought makeup, because it's the thing you see first.
Yep.
So that's what I went with.
But as through the decades, which I love the way you talk about the decades and how our style evolves and our careers evolve and we evolve as human beings, because I think it is quite a catalyst, those watershed moments. But I think, when you think about how our skin changes, and I love the fact that Trinny London really does talk about the older, or as we get older, let's put it that way, because
going down the path of life,
the journey. That actually it is really, really important. A teenager, you can put anything on, whether it's clothes or makeup, and they'll look amazing because they've got this beautiful lush skin and beautiful lush bodies. And but as we get older, and for me with my fashion, it's very much the working with those women who were 35 plus. In my brain, I'm forever 35, and I hope I always am. But I think
making clothes that really actually honoured their shape and gave them the structure where they needed it, and all those things.
And the same for you in terms of what can we do to just extend the plumpness and the beauty. For as long as, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think beauty goes, it evolves.
But I think it's also not, the word beauty, I don't ever use. The word anti-aging, I don't ever use. So
why don't you use the word beauty?
Because I think that the beauty industry and the way that I look at the classic beauty industry uses some phrases and terms which I think put women in boxes. And I kind of think that, it's interesting when I talk to, we have all different ages who buy our product, but when I speak to our team, and my team are mainly in their 20s and 30s, and I might say going down the path of life or ageless beauty, and to somebody in their 20s and 30s, ageless sounds old.
It does.
Which is interesting. Yep. So just terminology is really interesting. But for me, what is universal as a language to somebody of 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, especially in skincare, which is language you use, is we can all look in the mirror and feel tired, whatever our age is. We can all look in the mirror and feel dull. We can all look in the mirror and feel that we lack energy. So the language we choose to communicate is with our products is how can your skin feel more alive? How can you look full of energy? How can you look like you've had a great night's sleep?
It's all very positive.
It's positive, but it's also not sort of saying anti-aging. We all inevitably age. Some people, you and I use treatments and Botox and things, and I think that's been a part of my life since I was 35.
Do we?
Yes, we do. Let's be honest. And so I think that, what's really interesting, when I look at some women, and there's women that you and I both know, and I can look at women and I can know she had treatments but never had a great daily skincare routine, or she had a great daily skincare routine, didn't have treatments, and she did both, you know, and it's very, you can see that in skin, because some people can think I'll take a shortcut and I'll do, a filler, or I'll do Botox, or I'll do whatever. But if you haven't looked after your skin every day and put on SPF and exfoliate it with a liquid exfoliant, put on a proper vitamin C and put on a proper retinoid, That's the consistency of your skin. That's, to me, the life of your skin.
Yeah.
So if you want to have life in your skin, you know, Botox won't give you life in your skin. Botox will mean that you have fewer lines. But a great skincare regime, massaging your skin, doing these kind of silly, mad things I do, they oxygenate your skin, and oxygenation of your skin makes your skin alive. It makes you vibrating with energy. And I kind of, for me, you know, wearing color is about vibrating with energy. And I don't mean in a woo-woo way vibrating with energy, because I'm not a chakra reader and aura reader and whatever. I just literally mean in what vibes come off somebody.
Yes.
And how can you enhance that? Because if I look at anyone in the room and I think, are you flat or do you have good energy? And elements that are put together subconsciously. So I'm looking at a few people in the room, all right? I'm just going to do it here. But it's like, so if I'm really going to, can I just do you guys? Yeah. Okay, I'll do you guys. All right, okay. So I would say, starting with the lady over there,
Rose,
your assistant,
yes.
okay? She loves a bit of fashion. She likes kind of things that are clean. She probably doesn't wear prints that often. She quite likes to have a very clean, fresh face. I don't think she ever had hugely bad skin. She just has hormonal, maybe occasionally. Then we have the lovely man with
Felipe.
a blue t-shirt on, all right? It's about comfort. It's about probably your hair is important to you, and how you do your hair is quite important to you. Don't know. But you like a bit of color. I love the fact you're wearing that blue. It's a beautiful color on you. I don't know if you've intentionally matched your socks to your top, but there's something nice in your flow, but you still want to be comfortable. And you look after your trainers and they're not filthy, and you quite like a clean trainer.
Fabulous.
So, but I just think it's interesting. The psychology of how we present ourselves and what's going on inside is there every day, and we notice it in each other.
There's so much, and what I love is that actually you talked about the men as well as the women in the room, and you know I think part of this series will be interviewing men, and you know, we all have to decide what we're going to put on in the morning, and clothes, whether they're important in inverted commas or not to us. We all make decisions about them. And so for you, how does your next decade look in terms of, do you think about that, or do you just completely follow your gut?
I think I live, more than any other time in my life, I live in the moment. And I spent many times my life living in the past or future. Because
do you think that's an age thing now?
I think it's where you feel you've got to in your life according to the benchmarks you set out for yourself. So if you give yourself this kind of insurmountable thing, you'll always live in the past or future and less in the present, because you're quite hard on yourself as to what's acceptable for you to be you and to get on with you and enjoy that moment.
Yeah.
So I think that takes time. And I think, you know, there's many moments in my career where I wasn't in the right career, and I literally felt somebody would tap me on the shoulder and say, you know, you're shit at what you do. And I wasn't shit at what I was doing, but because I didn't love it and it wasn't my future, I felt very insecure that somebody would say, really, you don't know what you're doing. And you know, so I think that needs time. I think there's interesting things when you are one of many kids. You can be very insecure from that family dynamic. I look at Lila, who is an only child. She has this is my daughter, but she has a brother who's 10 years older. So he's not only a few years older and really can take the piss out of her all the time. He's old enough older that he's protective around her, and her dad is no longer with us. So he feels that extra role. But Lila has this confidence that I never had at her age. And what's interesting is when I look at women in my life who are single children, they don't, it's interesting because they don't have to compete when they grow up for stuff. And yet they don't have to compete for things when they grow up. You know, so there's things that can take away your self-worth when you're always competing. And there's things that can make you lazy when you don't have to compete. So there's a plus and minus, but it's very interesting. She has a very different sense of herself than I did at her age. She really loves herself.
It's fascinating, the whole birth order thing and sibling relationships and how, I mean, I remember growing up with two older brothers, and they would tease me mercilessly on the fashion side of things.
Yeah.
And so it made me very sensitive and very aware of it, but it also made me, I realized very early on the power that I got from feeling good in my clothes.
Yeah, with two brothers, I can see that. Yeah,
from
yeah.
the teasing. Do you have a style icon?
I'm asked this question so often, and I feel there's certain people I admire, and the person I most admire is probably Iris Apfel, because she has such a sense of dedication to the craft of, growing this clothing collection and loving it. And when I saw her film, and I just saw the way it's a love affair she had with her clothes.
It's a real passion.
It's such a passion.
It?
And she also she's a clothes horse. She's 6 foot. She has very long, incredible legs, not much of a boob. So she kind of could wear anything. But she loves flamboyance, and she loves being present, and she's never afraid to be fully present. So that I really admire that. I can look at other people that perhaps have an ageless pareback style, like a sort of, everyone is now in love with the kind of the grandma Diana Keaton moment of this kind of, Southampton house moment, which I'm like, love, but I find it really boring American, actually. So I don't totally love it.
Thank God I'm wearing yellow today.
Yeah, so thank God. But I've never really had one.
That makes sense.
Iris. Yeah.
I would say the same.
Yeah.
Actually, because it's a question that I am always being asked.
Yeah.
Or my
and then one feels embarrassed because one should have it, but
yes.
It's like.
But actually, yes, there are people that have inspired me, and I think of people like Carolyn Bassett Kennedy and people like that.
Yeah.
But I don't have a body, so actually, I think with fashion, it's all about digging deep into how do I want to feel.
And I also think that the style icons of the 20s to the 70s were, in my mind, about that woman, whatever you saw of her, that was her, that style. Now it probably was Rank Studios creating her whole life.
What about sustainability and fast fashion? And we know you love your trolley dashes into Zara.
I do, yeah.
And all of that. But what's your view on this?
It's so difficult.
Upcycle, recycle, resell.
I believe emphatically that wherever you choose to buy from, so there's two things here. One is how that company behaves behind the scenes, and the other is how you choose to look after the clothes you buy from them. So if we start with how you choose to look after the clothes you buy from them. So whether I buy, this is a suit from ASOS, and underneath is Dries Van Noten, and my trainers are Russell and Bromley. So the suit, I remember, was in the sale. So the jacket was literally 49 quid and the trousers were 29. The Dries was £1,200, all right? And they all get the same padded hanger. They all get the same love in my wardrobe. They all get nurtured. They all get cleaned at the same time. They all get treated very equally because they're equally loved, because they do things for my outfits and my wardrobe. And so I look after them. And I think that wherever you might choose to shop, if you think to yourself when you buy something, how am I going to wear it? And how am I going to wear it 10 times before I even put it in my wardrobe? I think where we're irresponsible is if we think, I love it, I'll buy it, I'll wear it at this party, and then I don't know if I ever wear it again.
Exactly.
That to me is something that we should really not do anymore.
Yeah.
That kind of one-time shop up. I think nobody should do it. And when I saw in the Mail yesterday, or today actually, there's a huge article about some country in South America which has this clothes plant in, and it went on and on and on, and they were picking up stuff, and it had Primark labels, and it had TJ Maxx labels, and there was a Ralph Lauren TJ Maxx shirt, £39 in this sea of clothes. And I was like, I felt sick. Yeah, I felt sick looking at it. So I thought, okay, woof. Then I also think that sustainable fashion has been very specific, and now it's become a broader mainstream. And now you have some less expensive things, but sustainable fashion used to be very, very expensive for 90% of people to buy. So it was like, great, love to do that, but actually I can only spend 30 quid on a top and 50 quid on a pair of trousers and £79 on a jacket and 120 quid on a coat, and maybe I'll do 150 quid on a dress. And that's a lot for some people, all right? Whereas other people might say 20 quid on a pair of jeans, 20 quid on a top, 35 quid on a jacket. So when you're looking at that, you think, okay, great, but where can I find things with my budget? So then it's a question of saying, don't buy so much, buy less frequently. Instead of buying the 2 jackets, buy 1 jacket. But that's getting very close into people's personal choice of how much choice they want in their life when they get dressed every morning. And I'd love, there's one girl on Instagram who drives me insane slightly, and I won't mention her name, but she's all about minimalism, and you don't need many things. But then to me, I look at her and I think, you always look the same, and it's a bit bland. And I think I want clothes that, depending on my mood, I'll think that is going to bring this mood, and that's going to make me feel sexy, and that's going to make me feel I'll get the job, and that's going to make me feel I can flirt with a boyfriend.
You do really strike me as a mood dresser. And
100%.
I love that you're reaching into yourself. How do I feel today? Or even if I don't feel 100%, what's going to make me feel 110%? It's that yellow suit, and it's the Dries top that I've had
for the
forever.
mood than I will. Like, I had to go last week to my board meeting, and somebody's 90th birthday.
What did you wear to the board
So,
meeting?
no, I wore the same thing. So I thought, what can be the outfit that works the same?
Yeah.
All right, for both of those. So
what was
I
it?
did a co-ord from Zimmermann, which was in this soft snakeskin print, and then I had a cream Zara a sort of blush Zara coat I wore on top that was like an in and out jacket. And it sort of worked for both, because there was a floaty femininity I wanted for the 90-year-old to sort of not be like I'd just come from the office for her birthday and nobody who was at this lunch worked. And then for my board meeting, that I could have the structure and the, I am the chairman of the board.
The power.
And, yeah. But that was all by my mood, because I woke up feeling, there's some things I need to get done at the board meeting, and I don't know how many people I know at the lunch. So there were those little voices of insecurity in my head that did dictate how I dressed.
Do you feel you dress for yourself, your audience, a man, a woman, other women?
You need to dress first and foremost every single time for yourself.
Yeah. I always have said
but that's
that.
difficult to do sometimes, because if you feel, all I would say is, if you don't do it, you then will feel I made a mistake quicker. You just will, because somebody then, those external forces, the people you're then with, who might then comment on what you're wearing, might then, whereas if you made the decision and you had the strength of decision and you felt good about it. I mean, another thing I tell women to do a bit is, and I used to do this a lot, and on a Sunday, I'd always spend an hour looking at the weather and planning my outfits. And this is very good if somebody has body dysmorphia of any kind, or mood dysmorphia of any kind, all right? So you think, okay, this is the weather, this is what I got to do. So just the key things that you think to avoid the 45 minutes, we're late, and the 10, 15 outfits on the bed moment. So, I kind of put 3 ideal daytime outfits that would take me through things, and 3 evening things. And I try them on, and I take a picture, and I think, I feel good in that. I look at the picture, I feel good in that, all right?
And actually, I look good in it.
And I think the picture is the important thing. It's not a vanity matrix, because then you wake up on the Wednesday and you just had a bad call from somebody and you're feeling shit and you've got to get dressed, and then you put that on and think it looks terrible, because you're looking in the mirror with your mental headspace, not with your physical eyes. And then you need to literally go to the phone, look at it and say, have I changed in 2 days? So for people with body dysmorphia, have I suddenly eaten 300 bits of food that make me 2 stone heavier? No, I fucking haven't. So that's just your head telling you. So tell my head to shut up. And then you just go through it and really just try and have this thing and say, I am no different from that. So let me know it,
Yeah.
Let me know it.
I'm a big fan of the wardrobe selfie.
Yeah.
Just because, quickly, let's talk about travel. Are you a good packer?
I'm a phenomenal packer.
I just knew you were going to say that.
Sorry, I do packing videos on YouTube. They're some of my most successful films. But my best pack up was I went to this 60th birthday celebration in Utah, but it wasn't just Utah. It was 6 days away, and we went to Vegas, and there was something in Vegas, and then we drove and we went to this kind of resort in Utah, and we were then riding, and then we were on a hike, and then we went on a houseboat on a Lake Powell, and then we did beach holiday stuff and glamorous lunch.
Don't
and then
tell
we,
me you were told you could only take one suitcase.
No, and then we did a party that night, and then we drove to another location, and then we did a huge black tie, and then we did an outfit for the day, and the next day we did another big themed costume event, and then I went to the mountains for the last day. I took hand luggage.
Oh, go away.
I took hand luggage.
I was going to say, how many bags
Because
did you take?
I planned it so carefully, and I planned it with this friend of mine who you know, Pia, and we both were determined. We were traveling together as women, and I, first of all, get very paranoid that I'll lose things, because I have occasionally in my life lost things I never found again. So when it's a thing like that, I think I can do hand luggage. And I did it. And I have this suitcase. This is there's a suitcase from Rimowa. It's not a cheap suitcase, but it's called Cabin Plus. And it's a bit bigger because it's 55 litres instead of 43 litres.
You've
This
got
is
the
how obsessed I
science
am.
of
Yeah.
it.
And you put a really big hand bag on top so that the case looks smaller when you go to check in.
Yep.
And nowadays, if you have a hand luggage, you don't need to go to the check-in counter.
Yep.
So you just go through. And all Trinny London stuff in all the stacks never show up because it's all hard.
Oh,
and then the little
fabulous.
things go through anyway. Even if
Yeah.
I put my BFF into a little teapot, all goes through. So that's fine. It's mainly the deodorant and shampoo. And now I use Hair Story, which is shampoo and conditioner combined in one. It's the best thing for hair, by the way, Hair Story. So I do love that. I obsess about how
because
many changes.
I'll never forget being on that tiny little airstrip in Mystique with
Yes.
you, and you were dissecting my airport look.
Yeah.
And I mean, you just
I
can't
loved your
help
airport look.
yourself.
An airport look. This sounds really weird, but it's like, I think most people, if you're going on holiday, you want to start the holiday as you leave your house. You want to have that feeling you're about to
Absolutely.
go on holiday. So I like a great travel outfit. I love it. I want to feel
It's fundamental.
You know,
it sets
yeah.
you up for your weekend or your
does.
holiday
It
or whatever.
does.
I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of that.
Okay.
Okay, guilty secret. What's the most expensive item of clothing you've ever bought? Could be an accessory.
No.
And you don't have to say what it is or how much you spent on it. But you do have to say what it is, but you don't have to say how much you spent on it.
Okay, it was a Prada coat in sequin.
Very nice. Do you still own it?
I still own it, and I will own it until I die. I've worn it 3 times. It's very, very heavy. And when I got it, I had just done a deal with my business, and I've always over the years, like when each book deal I did with Susanna, I have something in my wardrobe that celebrates that moment that I still wear today.
I love that.
So I
I'm
have
a
these
big
kind of-
believer in
yeah.
marking time.
I think marking time is key, and I can literally, in fact, I should do a closet confession on this, of the times where I have given myself a present for something I've done, because I think we need to do that.
That's lovely. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you could do a book on that.
Yeah.
Every piece has its story.
It's like I do this other thing with bags, because I buy majority of my bags from Prada, and I buy Zara, H&M occasionally, or Prada.
Yes.
My bags. And Prada used to have this thing where they had this little thing like for a photograph, or like what you put your name inside.
Yeah.
And I did a picture of Lila. So I have Lila, 6 months old. Every bag I open up, and I know how old the
And you
bag
know
is,
how
because
old the
there's a
bag
picture
is.
of
How
Lila
lovely.
inside.
What a gorgeous idea.
With her age. So Lila loves it. She's like, that'll be mine.
Right.
Lila, yeah.
Some quick fire.
Yeah, quick
Some
fires.
very, very
Yeah.
quick fire. High end or high street?
Oh, I would say high street, because it's so much more fun when you get something that is incredible.
Couture or charity shop?
Couture.
One off or bog off?
What does that mean?
Buy one, get one free.
Never.
Shapewear or sexy lingerie?
Shapewear.
Sneakers or stilettos?
Sneakers.
Sports luxe or rock chick?
I'd like the two to have a baby.
I agree. Totally. Party wear or PJs?
Neither.
Experimental or uniform?
Both.
Hoarder or editor?
What does that mean?
Do you keep things or do you blitz your wardrobe constantly?
Rotation.
It's not very quick fire, that one, is it?
No, but I would say my answer would be
Rotation.
I rotate.
Yeah, I think you're fantastic at that. Tights or stockings?
Tights.
Bikini or one piece?
Bikini.
Trilby or Tracy, as in Philip Tracy?
Trilby.
And finally, one last question. What do you or don't you wear in bed?
I wear nothing.
Good girl. Yes. Naked as the day you were born.
Sure am, honey.
Trinny, what a treat to sit here and chatter to you. I could have spent the entire day, honestly. I could just go on and on. And you're going to walk out of here and I'm going to think, why didn't I ask her this, that, or the other? I promise you I'll leave you alone now.
It was such good fun.
But thank you. Yeah. Bless you. Really wonderful.